welcome to episode number 23 of the Local Lowdown. My name is Zach Bischoff, and I, as always, am joined by.
Danny Shancer.
All right, thank you, Danny. And I realize my shirt is going crazy on the green screen here, but that's neither here nor there. All right, Danny. First, today we are going to we will be sounding the alarm here on the Steelers in a moment. But Danny, first, your thoughts on the Steelers' 21-18 loss to the New England Patriots on Thursday evening.
Zach, man, oh man, did I not think that a really bad day would happen twice for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But on a short week, the same thing that happened on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost to another 2-10 team. And I think that the Steelers sometimes, because of how we've won going back to this season and how we've won, I think we're put on kind of a pedestal, and because of who we are historically and the fact that we're still 7-6 even after the two losses to 2-win teams. We definitely took those 2 games for granted. It was we're definitely going to come out 9-4. We're going to somehow find a way to win, right? That's what the Steelers do. That's how we have 7 wins. But Zach, I almost feel like we took both of those teams for granted. I mean, the Cardinals and the Patriots, respectively, played with so much effort. It was apparent, and credit to their coaching staffs, because it is hard when you're 2-10 in the back half of the season, playing a team that's in the thick of the playoff race, to want it more than that team. But both the Patriots and the Cardinals wanted it more than the Steelers. It was ugly, Zach. The game was ugly, man.
Yes,
Zach, I cannot really comprehend how Bailey Zappi had 3 passing touchdowns in the first quarter. That's not normal. Our Steelers offense is the highest paid in the NFL, and we let Bailey Zappi and a dysfunctional Patriots offense score more points in the first quarter than they had average in most of their other games. You can say that Mitch had bad interceptions and Kenny wouldn't turn the ball over. I honestly think, Zach, that I don't think that if Kenny played, the result would have been much different. Maybe we pull out that final drive, but really, Zach, we have a quarterback problem and a defense problem, because our defense is. I know we're thin in the linebacker position. That's apparent. We've lost Cole Holcomb and guys that are not experienced are being asked to play. I think that's
TJ Watt. TJ Watt this morning just went into concussion protocol. I just saw that prior to us hitting the air today. Yeah. So that's gonna really throw a monkey wrench into things if he's out long term. Now, what the interesting thing, Danny, going off of that, is that he was checked out on the sideline and then cleared in to and cleared back to play. So did he re-enter?
Yeah.
Into the protocol? I think he did.
Yeah, no, I heard somebody saying that, because of obviously TJ Watt had a heck of a 5 minutes. He landed awkwardly on somebody and then he got kicked in the face and was bleeding. So that's a heck of a 5 minutes to start out. But yeah, I think the what somebody said was suspicious just on Twitter was like the fact that he entered back in with the dark visor, like because he didn't have a dark visor prior to that. So
I didn't notice
I
that.
yeah, I think that
That's what he wore all the time.
yeah, I and maybe it was just darker than his bit. Like I think he does wear one a darker visor all the time. I think this one may have been a little bit darker, but I mean, Zach, that just comes back to the point where like we're so thin. And TJ Watt, he just entered into concussion protocol this morning. After he came back in, he was a dog. I mean, he did what TJ Watt did, and blew up runs and got pressure on Bailey Zappi and forced uncomfortable throws. And the toughest part about the Steelers right now, Zach, is we almost came all the way back despite everything. I mean, we rattled off 18 straight, or yeah, 21 straight points. 21 straight points, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we almost came all the way back, or and like if it hadn't, like, I would have loved to see what would have happened on those couple fourth down plays that could have changed the game. But that's what makes it even more frustrating, Zach, is the fact that we scored 18 straight points and just came up short. Like, it's not like it was a little bit. It wasn't quite as similar to the Cardinals game because we did fight all the way back. This team is so frustrating because it feels like we always play down to the level of our opponent.
Yeah, we do. And Danny, my next question to you
Yeah.
is your thoughts on the Matt Canada-esque. Well, this is not even Matt Canada-esque, but the questionable play calls on third and fourth and third and short and fourth and short. The deep passes to absolutely nobody.
Yeah, Zach, starting with the final drive on fourth down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Talk about that first. That's a doozy right there.
Yeah, because
That's a doozy.
here's what doesn't make sense to me, right? So we go, take over the ball, is a good punt from New England, and so we take over like the 15, and this we have, it's like about 3 minutes and 30 seconds with that. And I don't understand, Zach, why we would have burned a timeout on fourth and inches. We burned a timeout on fourth and inches. We converted that, and then on fourth and three, we decide to punt it. Like,
Yeah.
if you no, it was fourth and two because we had two fourth and twos, and then yeah, it was fourth and two, and I don't understand why we decided to punt it there because you like wasted a timeout. Now you're putting your defense in a really tough spot. I know it's before the 2 minute warning, and we ended up getting it back before the 2 minute warning because our defense just does what it does. But like, I don't understand why we call that timeout earlier and then just decide to punt it because we basically wasted like a minute there. And then when we get the ball back, like, and it's fourth and two and it's for the season, why the heck don't we have Deontay Johnson going to the middle of the field as opposed to throwing it deep to nobody, as you said, Zach?
Yeah.
I mean, we also could have run the ball.
Yeah.
It was 2:01 left. And we probably would have gotten it because the defense was expecting us to pass it. Because, and I mean, we got guys like Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. Like, I know they've been quiet all game, and New England did a good job of stopping the running game. But like, we got to give them a chance to pick up the fourth and two in a more humane way than a deep ball to Deontay Johnson where he doesn't even see it until it's on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that as soon as I saw Trubisky in the shotgun, I'm like, oh dear lord. I'm like, is the ghost of Matt Canada descending upon Acrisure Stadium? Because that's a very Matt Canada-esque play call.
It it
Um,
it kind of seemed like, Zach. It was like, well, we haven't gotten anything just going um that's going to be long term successful in our offense. We haven't built drives up, so why don't we just hope Deontay comes down with the ball? But I mean, I think that shows a lack of confidence almost, because you're almost just chucking it deep and hoping. It literally seemed like they were willing to take a low percentage shot because they would rather hit that and win the game than get the fourth down and 2 and then have to run more offensive plays. But I mean, that is I I just don't understand why that is the last offensive play you run. I will never understand that. And I think it comes down to our inability for our offense to execute consistently. And that's what we need to figure out. Because, I don't it's not I mean, it's not the scheme. I think it is the scheme, actually. Because, Matt Canada did not the offense was not in a good spot. But after the first game against a Bengals defense that isn't very good, we gained 400 yards. But after that, it's been the same stuff for Eddie Faulkner and Mike Sullivan that it has been for Matt Canada. And Matt Canada was just a scapegoat for all this, So now we don't have a scapegoat, and we just seems like we have no plan going into an offense going into a game. And I think that obviously it's on the players to execute, but it's also on the coaching staff and all, Mike Tomlin is ultimately responsible for fixing the system if it doesn't work. Our offense has not worked for 13 games consistently.
Correct.
So where do we go from here? And that's what I wish I knew, but I have no clue where the Steelers go from here.
I'll tell you this. I think the only way that this team changes is with Mike Tomlin getting the boot. I think that I think we've exhausted all other possibilities, but I think at this point it's a head coaching problem. I think that the Steelers haven't fired a coach in 50 years.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think I think this whole promoting from within, that's one piece of it, and two, I think it's a stale offense that hasn't changed that hasn't changed with the game because in my opinion we're still a pretty run heavy offense. That's not what this league is anymore.
We are.
It's a passing league.
You have to be willing to pass it 35 to 40 times a game, and we're not willing to do that. And then we wonder why our run game doesn't work. Zach, you bring up that buzzword that kind of got me going here is stale, right? Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, but in the postseason, he's 8-9.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the whole losing record stat, I think that is something else. I think that's another part of it.
In the playoffs?
Well, no, the whole no losing season.
Yeah.
The whole losing season thing.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing.
Right.
This over obsession with Tomlin's ever had a losing season. I think that's another part of the issue here.
Exactly, Zach. And here's my thing too. Is like you said, Mike Tomlin is praised nationally because every year he doesn't have a losing season. Even with Duck Hodges, we went 8-8. And there's something to be said for that, right? But when you go 9-8 and get blown out in the first round of the playoffs, is that really progress? Because the last time we won a playoff game was when Barack Obama was still the president. Think about that. I don't know how many years. I don't know actually how many years it's been. But I remember reading that comparison. Like, I mean, and I think, you know, Dan Bylsma is a perfect example of short-term success for the Penguins, but they moved on to him because his message was getting a little stale, and they brought Mike Sullivan in. Like, it's not terrible to bring a good coach to move on from a good coach. You know, Mike Tomlin is as a well respected coach, and everybody. I mean, and we have been lucky to have him for as long as we've had him. But there comes a point in time where we got to spice something up, right? And I think the standard is a standard, and all the things he says that is a good football philosophy. I think we need something a little bit more of a spark plug in terms of like maybe we get somebody that's like a new Sean McVay type that's an offensive guru, because Mike Tomlin was a defensive coach, and he said that, but really, Zach, I mean the league is more offensive than it's ever been, and we have not changed with that trend. We really haven't. So I can appreciate everything that Mike Tomlin's done for us here, and I don't think this will be if he moves on. I don't think that'll be the end of his coaching career. He'll probably go to a team like the Indianapolis Colts or like the maybe even like the Chicago Bears or something, and bring them success, and they'll see a change immediately. But for the Steelers, I don't think that I think the message has gotten a little stale, as you said, Jack.
Yeah, the last playoff win for the Steelers, if this is correct, would be January 15th of 2017, with the win over the Kansas City Chiefs 18-16. Um, so there's your last playoff win for you there. So it's been like 7-8 years, I think.
Yeah.
If my math right, I'm not good at math. Neither is Danny. But
it's very true.
Let's see here. All right, so yeah, that's the Steelers. The alarm has been sounded. It's official that the Steelers are spiraling. We're still in the wild card race. I don't know.
But
I don't know.
And here's I think the thing too is like even I think sometimes because of like the again the national media is like 7-6 and the Steelers lost to the two win teams. Like what's happening in Pittsburgh? It's been spiraling, Zach. They just like we've just pulled wins out of the hat here, and it hasn't and people haven't taken notice until now. Like I mean, like so I think like we are not a very good football team, even though we have a winning record right now.
And Danny, have you noticed 2 points here? Have you noticed that the national media has really been defending Tomlin since the loss on Thursday? The national media for some reason really loves him. I don't know why.
No,
and the local media hates him right now.
It's because of the Mike Tomlin never having a losing season. Because that catches people's attention. That gets the national media attention. And I mean, Peter King, who's a well-respected football writer, for NBC Sports, I really like his work. And I think he's very good at what he does.
But let me guess, you heard this on 93.7?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
No, and Zach, the thing that Peter King was saying, was that Kenny Pickett, the result would have been different with Kenny Pickett, and that may have been the case, Zach, because Kenny Pickett is better than Mitch Trubisky. I think that's fairly apparent. But Zach, that comes back to if Kenny Pickett's out, the standard's still the standard, and Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers team as a whole did not meet the standard, right? And I think that we gotta start critiquing the actual performances on the field rather than the record, and rather than what everybody says about Mike Tomlin being such a good coach. Like he is a good coach, and we find a way to win games that we shouldn't always win. We beat Baltimore earlier in the season. Like how the heck did we do that? Like but we win games that we're not supposed to win. But we also have to critique, the actual performances. And Zach, another thing too, right? The Steelers, because of them not having a losing season since Mike Tomlin's been the head coach, means we haven't had a top 10 pick in a while, right? And here's the thing with not having a top 10 pick is you don't get the best players out of college. So a lot of times you have to be bad for a couple of seasons before you have to be. I mean, look at the Texans. They got C.J. Stroud and a bunch of other young talent, and now they're right in the thick of things. But they weren't 2 or 3 years ago. A lot of times to make a change, you have to be bad for a while before good. And I would honestly, it would be hard in the moment going, the likes of 4-13 or 3-14 or things like that. That would be hard in the moment. But once we got top talent in the draft, I think immediately we'd start to see the makings of something, right?
Right.
We haven't been able to see what top talent from the draft would do in a while, Zach.
Mm-hmm. But you know how the Steelers like to draft. They don't if they have a top pick, right?
Yeah.
And I bet they wouldn't go with the top guy. You and I both know that.
They would go for
excluding Kenny Pickett last year.
Yeah.
I don't know how he dropped to 20, but
that's true. I mean, they would try and they wouldn't pick the flat. Like they would think of something to try and.
They wouldn't pick the clear cut, 1-1 guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Steelers are never going to have the number one pick. I don't think we're going to ever get to that.
Yeah, no, that's
which I don't want. I don't want it to get to that. Get to that bad. But also, I mean, what about I don't know. We're not active in the trade market either. Really, we just always stay the same, Jack. And I think that's a little frustrating sometimes.
Thank you to our one chatter. You know who you are. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for my viewer says Dan gave a very kind and respectful eulogy for Tomlin's Steeler career. I sense he has a future in ministry. You're a G. Thank you for that. All right, that's funny. Moving on to the Penguins now. Danny, what the heck is up with the Penguins power play? They are 0 for 37, I believe, in the last month or so here. Danny, just your thoughts. I didn't see any of the game last night. I did hear that they looked pretty good, but they got outplayed in the third period. Your summary of the game for me?
Yeah, Zach. No, I mean, going to the power play to start out here. Erik Karlsson was quoted after the game when in response to asking what's up with the power play and why is the power play struggling so much. He's like, I think he said, if I wish I knew, and I wish I knew, I wish that I could tell you a specific problem that's going on with the Penguins power play. But Zach, I mean, I don't think there's any rhyme or reason for this right now. I mean, the Penguins power play is made up of a series of future Hall of Famers, and we just still struggle to put the puck in the back of the net on the man advantage, and I don't exactly know why that is, Zach. I mean, I know that it's hard on the power play sometimes because you do have so much more time than you used to, and you can use, you have the ability to spread your team out and to spread the other team out, so that creates space. But sometimes when you overcomplicate it and pass it around for too long and try to get the perfect shot, it doesn't work out. That's literally been what the Penguins have struggled with. But Zach, 0 for 37 in the past month, That's not good.
No.
You know, and I think that the Penguins, again, it's not complete. We're not exactly in a worse spot than the Steelers are right now. But Zach, we've lost like 4 straight, I
Yeah.
believe. I mean, I think that like again, we talk about ebbs and flows of a season, you know, and that's obviously fair. That every game is not going to be your best game, and you want to peak at the right time. But the way that we've lost has been so frustrating. I mean, since since Jari's goal
Goalie.
against Buffalo, I mean, we've struggled, man. And I guess the one thing that we have to keep in mind is that we are, you know, depleted in terms of forward forward help. Like we're not Brian Rust, Ricardo Kell, Matt Nieto, and Noel Achari are all out. You know, so that does not help anything because a number of those guys are top 6 guys, and that means that other guys that are more third and fourth liners have to kind of step up on the first lines here. But Zach, I mean, we got off to a good start. You know, Riley Smith got the first goal for the Penguins, and that was great to see. I mean, I love when you know, Riley Smith gets in on the action because I think Riley Smith is a good player for us, and he needs to continue to contribute for us to make a run in the playoffs here. But Zach, I mean, we let Florida get 3 straight goals, you know, and when you start out, you know, getting a 1-0 lead and then get outplayed for the rest of the game, like that's hard because you know that you should have sustained that level of intensity, and we didn't. You know, I guess the one positive was I'm not sure how many shots Tristan Jarry faced, but he bailed the Penguins out a couple of times. So that's, I mean, I just want to see Jarry continue to improve, but yeah, I mean, I think that the Penguins, if we want to peak at the right time and get our legs under us, we got to start winning now, right? Because I think that we always say that like points always matter. You know, we always want to try to get the extra point when we can, even if it's an overtime loss. You know, we always want to try to just be better than we've been in the past. Like that's always that you always want to keep progressing, and the Penguins have not really done that in the right now. You know, we're struggling right now.
Yeah.
But I believe we play the Coyotes next, which that, you know, we should, again. I know
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't.
No, I know because we lost to another bad Arizona team in football. So I mean, I know that Arizona Coyotes aren't the strongest team, but we still, you know, gotta. But what I would love to see, Zach, is just we've been, you know, both of the Flyers games ended in an overtime loss, you know, and that means we're literally right there with competition. You know, we just got to execute down the stretch.
Right.
But I would love to see us just absolutely dominate the Coyotes and win like 6-0. I mean, that probably won't happen, but
no,
it'd be like a 5-2 win.
Yeah. Danny, I do have to circle back real quick to the Steelers, and then you can get your final thoughts. I saw a stat that the Steelers are the first over 500 team in NFL history to lose in two straight weeks to 2 teams that are at least 4 games under 500. Holy crap!
No, Zach,
that is not a good precedent to set.
And it's not just that they're over 400. It's that the fact that
500.
It's not just the fact that they're under 500. It's the fact that prior to their 2 wins, prior to the wins against both the Steelers, they were 4-20. That is historically bad. Now they're 6-22, I think. But Zach, I mean, I think that comes back to we talked earlier in the show about how sometimes the record can say different things about how actually good you are. I think
Mm-hmm.
that I mean we are not a very good football team. We definitely have a lot of warts that we got to figure out, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously we're sounding the alarm bells, but the reality is, Zach, as you said, we're still somehow, some way, 13 games into the season, we have a winning record, and we're in the wild card hunt. You know, the AFC
Right.
is such a hard conference, but it doesn't make sense to me that we're still in that conversation because of how bad we played. But
I don't quite understand that one
But
either.
Zach, if we, I mean, this is again super optimistic here, but Zach, if we win the remainder of our games, we'd be 11-6, which is a tremendous record, you know.
Correct.
And I know we play great divisional opponents coming up here, and you know that's we gotta play the Ravens again, and the Bengals look better than they have. Jake Browning had a heck of a game on Monday Night Football.
He did.
And that just shows, Zach, that you you know with a good game plan, NFL quarterbacks can be successful. You know, so I'm looking for um, Mitch Trubisky. Maybe even I would think about giving Mason.
Oh, we're having a little bit of an audio problem with Danny, so I'll finish this thought. I think he's going that we were looking for Mason Rudolph to start next week. Danny's your audio back?
Yeah.
Actually, no, all right. So we are actually going to end the show there. Thank you, Danny, for your thoughts. We apologize for the audio issue here, but we are going to end the show anyway. On behalf of Danny, he will say thank you to our viewer out there, two viewers actually that stuck with us all the way. Thank you to Ken and chat for chatting with us here today. And we thank you all for tuning in. And this has been the 23rd edition of the Local Lowdown podcast. He's Daniel. I'm Zach. We will see you next time right here on the Local Lowdown podcast. We'll see you next time.